What if the strongest bonds between India and Pakistan were not forged on battlefields, but on dusty roads traveled by merchants, pilgrims, mystics, and ordinary people? What if the deepest connections between these lands were not born from conquest, but from exchange? Long before borders were drawn, long before flags were raised, the Indo-Pak regions were connected by invisible threads of trade, trust, and shared need. These were not just routes on a map. They were living arteries through which goods, ideas, beliefs, and cultures flowed quietly, persistently, shaping a shared civilization. When we speak of ancient trade routes, we are not merely talking about commerce. We are talking about movement, and movement changes everything. A trader does not carry only silk or spices. He carries stories, languages, customs, recipes, and worldviews. A pilgrim does not walk empty-handed. She brings faith, songs, rituals, and questions. Over centuries, these travelers stitched together regions that today we see as divided, but which once functioned as a single cultural ecosystem. The Indus Valley itself was one of the world's earliest centers of trade. Cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were not isolated settlements. They were part of a vast commercial network extending to Mesopotamia and Central Asia. Seals, weights, standardized bricks. These were signs of an economy built on trust and connectivity. Merchants moved along riverbanks and overland paths, exchanging grain, cotton, beads, and metals. In doing so, they also exchanged ideas about governance, craftsmanship, and daily life. This was unity without ideology, connection without conquest. As centuries passed, new routes emerged and expanded. The Silk Road, often imagined as a single road, was in fact a complex web of paths linking East Asia to the Mediterranean. South Asia was never on the margins of this network. It was central to it. Caravans moved through Gandhara, Punjab, Sindh, and Multan, carrying spices, textiles, precious stones, and medicinal knowledge. These routes did not recognize religious or ethnic boundaries. They recognized markets, water sources, and human hospitality. Multan became known as the City of Saints, but it was also a city of traders. Its markets echoed with many languages: Persian, Sanskrit, Arabic, Prakrit. Merchants from different faiths shared meals, inns, and risks. Trust was not built through treaties, but through repeated interaction. Over time, shared economic interest produced shared cultural ground. This is how unity often begins: quietly, practically, without slogans. Trade routes also became pathways for spirituality. Sufi mystics traveled alongside merchants, stopping at the same towns, speaking to the same people. Their message was simple: love, humility, service. They adopted local languages, local customs, even local food habits. In return, local traditions absorbed Sufi ethics and poetry. This spiritual exchange softened cultural boundaries and created a shared moral vocabulary across regions that today fall in both India and Pakistan. Food followed these routes closely. Spices moved north, dried fruits moved south, cooking techniques blended slowly. The same cumin, coriander, and cardamom found in a kitchen in Lahore could be found in Delhi or Ajmer. Bread baked in Punjab resembled bread eaten in Sindh. Rice dishes evolved differently, yet shared a common logic of spice and aroma. Trade made diets similar, and similar diets made people feel familiar with one another. Textiles offer another powerful example. Cotton from the Indus Plains traveled to distant lands, while weaving techniques returned enriched. The same patterns, dyes, and fabrics appeared across regions. Clothing styles evolved together, influenced by climate, trade demand, and cultural aesthetics. When people dress similarly, eat similarly, and trade daily, divisions feel artificial. Even language bears the imprint of these roots. Words related to trade, measurement, food, and travel crossed regions freely. Persian became a language of administration and culture, blending with local tongues to eventually form Urdu and Hindi. Poetry traveled faster than armies. A verse written in one city could be sung in another hundreds of miles away. Trade routes did not just move goods, they carried imagination. When empires rose, they often followed these same paths. The Mauryas, Kushans, Ghaznavids, and Mughals all understood the importance of controlling trade arteries. But even imperial control could not erase the deeper connectivity of everyday exchange. Empires came and went, routes remained, markets reopened, life continued, unity survived beneath layers of power. Colonialism disrupted these networks more violently than any previous empire. Railways were built not to connect cultures, but to extract resources. Traditional trade routes were weakened, local industries collapsed. Yet even then, cultural memory persisted. People still cooked the same food, sang the same songs, followed the same festivals. Unity retreated into homes when it could no longer flourish in markets. Then came partition, a rupture that cut through ancient roots like a blade. Roads were sealed, rivers politicized, families divided. But something remarkable happened. Recipes crossed borders in memory, songs survived in exile, business instincts adapted. Even today, despite hostility, informal trade persists. Ideas leak through media, cultural similarity refuses to disappear. For viewers in the United States, this story may feel familiar. America itself was built on trade routes, railroads, ports, migration corridors. Cultural blending here, too, came not from uniformity, but from exchange. The Indo-Pak story reminds us that connectivity is older than conflict, that shared history does not vanish simply because borders appear. So when we look at India and Pakistan today, what if we are looking at two rooms of the same ancient house? What if the walls are recent, but the foundation is shared? Can trade teach us what politics cannot? Can remembering economic unity help rehumanize historical narratives? As you reflect on this, ask yourself, how many of your daily habits come from trade routes you've never seen? How many of your words, meals, or beliefs were shaped by someone traveling centuries ago? And if ancient roads could connect civilizations without modern technology, what prevents us from acknowledging that unity today? If history shows us that connection is natural and division is constructed, then what future are we choosing to build? And perhaps the most important question of all, if echoes of unity still surround us, are we listening?